I like to do my little half hour or so. It's not really a half hour, but my little workshop for all my new patients, because I like to explain a little bit more about chiropractic and about your health and things that you might not know. And it's hard because, as you've seen, your adjustments aren't so very long, and so there's a little bit more information that I'd like you to know. So I'd like to welcome you to my half hour to health, but I talk really fast, so it's my 20 minutes to health workshop. We're gonna start off with a little exercise, getting your brain working tonight on this Thursday evening. Everybody pick a pen. What I want you to do is I want you to connect these 5 dots using 4 straight lines. You cannot cross them, and you have to finish where you start, meaning your line has to come to a close. Does that make sense? There can't be open ends, and you can't cross them, okay? 4 straight lines, 5 dots, can't cross, and you have to start where you finish. Does that make sense to you guys? Okay, we'll give you a couple seconds to figure that out, or minutes, or a minute or 2.
You need us to do that right now?
Yes, right now.
Oh, okay.
Not later, while we're all here. Give you a couple more seconds. Anybody getting it? No? Everybody giving up?
Wait,
Oh, look what you made. You made a house.
But no, you connect all 5.
All 5.
Oh, okay.
Okay, everybody look. Everybody look.
I
Ready?
did 4 lines.
1, 2, 3, 4. Did you see what I did? 1, 2, 3, 4. Did you see that? Did you see what I did? You got it? Got it? All right, so what does this force you all to do? To think outside the box, right? Think outside the box. You can keep that little paper if you want to. Show your friends. Right, and so that's kind of like what I like to think of chiropractic is thinking a little bit outside the box when it comes to healthcare. Because it is a little bit different way of thinking it. Is it not? You have to think a little bit differently. But I think it's honestly one of the best ways to think about your health, because we take so much into account about health and not just your symptoms, right? It may start off that way, but then it gets a little bit further into a lot more, and you've probably learned more than you thought you knew about your body. Well, we're going to learn more tonight. First, we're going to talk about what is health, because everybody has their own ideas about what health is and what health is to them. So I'd like to get you to question some of your belief systems about health tonight, all right? And maybe challenge those belief systems a little bit. Then we're going to talk about how your body works, because your body actually works properly or improperly based on the control of one master system, and you guys should know what that is. It's your nerve system, right? Right? And we're going to talk a little bit more about that. And then we're going to talk about what is a subluxation, which is that chiropractic word, and the reason that we're here today, right? So I'll start with you, Shelly. If I were to ask you what is health, what would you say? First thing that comes to your mind.
Well, mind, body, spirit.
Good.
And balance and harmony.
Good. I like that answer. Mary, what do you think?
Yeah, like your mind and like your health with your body.
Okay, good answer. Patty?
Just being healthy and not sick.
Okay, not sick. What do you guys think?
Proper maintaining.
Maintaining. Okay. What do you think, Emily?
Free of pain.
Free of pain. There it is. I knew it. Somewhere down the line, someone would say it, right? And it's not the wrong answer. It's not at all. But it's usually my most common response. No pain. No pain, no problem, no symptoms, no sickness. Then I must be healthy, right? Not necessarily. There's a little bit more to the story, right? So most people think that. We get very caught up in this country, especially on symptoms, right? That if you don't have anything wrong with you, then you must be healthy. Well, let me give you an example of why that might not be. Do you feel a tumor when it first starts to develop in your body? Let's just say you have colon cancer. Do you feel that?
No.
When that first starts to develop, those first cells start to mutate? No. Are you healthy? No, right? So it's really not so much about pain. It's really much more about how your body is performing, how you're functioning, right? And like I said, we get very caught up and tied up into symptoms, especially in this country, because we have a very pharmaceutical sort of driven country that we live in. And if you're sick, right, then you must have to take whatever, something to make you better, to cover up your symptoms, right? So let's take a look at our belief systems when it comes to symptoms. Vomiting. How many of us have ever vomited in our lives? Fun times, right? And what's your body, it may feel rotten, but what is your body actually doing?
Purging.
Getting rid of, right? Purging whatever it was that you ingested or whatever was growing in there that wasn't meant to grow in there. So even though it feels really rotten, it's a very healthy response to the human body, right? How about a fever? Why does the body produce a fever? Especially you moms and dads out there, why? What's normal body temperature?
98.
Around 98.6 degrees, right? And germs and viruses and bacteria can really only live at this cozy 98.6 degrees. So in the first sign of an invasion, especially in a child, what's the response?
Fever.
Fever. Burn off those little bugs, right? So that they can't live. But unfortunately in our country, we live in this culture that says, oh, my child has a fever, right? Or let's give him Tylenol or Motrin and bring that fever down, right? And what do you think the virus says?
Yeah.
Thank you, right? Yes, I get to live and divide and divide and divide and really make this baby sick, right? Now, I get it. No one wants to have a miserable child. No one wants to feel terrible. There comes a point and a time and a place where you may need to give Tylenol or Motrin. But overall, if you can just let that fever burn, it's so much healthier in the long run for your children, and then it's like over, right? A day, over, instead of letting it go on. Same thing with coughing and sneezing. Sometimes we feel it necessary to take something when we're going through a little allergy, seasonal allergy thing, or maybe our body's just got a little touch of something. It doesn't mean we have to live on Claritin forever, right? Or Allegra forever. These drugs being taken preventatively, I have a problem with that. There's a reason for a medication and a drug. Preventative drugs, I don't really believe in. Right? And because over time, what else are those drugs going to eventually attack in your body? Maybe your digestive system, maybe your liver, maybe your kidneys, right? So important to think, anytime you're on any medication, and I say this to my seniors especially, you should take that list of medication, and trust me, I have patients that come to me with lists. You should take that list to your medical doctor and say, what do I absolutely have to be on? And what can maybe, possibly, perhaps, I get off of? Because it is possible, and doctors are open to those conversations now, okay? All right, so, unfortunately, traditional healthcare really teaches us to just cover symptoms, right? Instead of looking at the whys and the cause of why we have some of these problems, it's just really easier to treat your symptoms, right? So why do we have some of the problems that we have? Well, how about let's look at a migraine headache. We drug that, right? But why is your body producing a migraine headache? Well, number one reason for most headaches is actually dehydration. So maybe you're not actually drinking enough water throughout the day. That's the number one reason why people get headaches. Or maybe you're in a really stressful job, or you work in a very stressful, or you have a very stressful home environment, right? Over time, that stress can really trigger a cortisol reaction, and maybe you get a migraine headache from that. Maybe you work in an environment where you are exposed to like noxious chemicals, right? Maybe some hairdressers or people who work in factories, painters, things like that, right? That can certainly trigger a migraine headache. Maybe you know your trigger. It's a certain food or a certain drink that can cause you to get a migraine. Go ahead out, guys. Thank you.
Thank you.
No problem.
Bye-bye.
Have a great night.
You too.
Okay, good night. But the point of this is that what is a migraine overall? It's really a warning signal. It's your body's way of saying, pay attention to me. Something's wrong here. Whether it be maybe it's a subluxation, right? We didn't even get to that. We're going to talk about that in a second. But again, it's your body's way of saying that something's not right, something's wrong overall, and to focus on that. How about high blood pressure? Well, we drug that too, right? That's one of the most prescribed drugs in America today because of our cardiovascular disease problem in this country. And why is the body producing high blood pressure? Why? In response to what? Well, again, maybe stress is too high and you don't have an outlet. You don't have a way to blow off that steam. Maybe you don't get enough exercise, even meditation or yoga or some quiet space for yourself. That will build up and that will cause you to have high blood pressure. Maybe you don't exercise or you have a poor diet. All of those things absolutely will cause you to have high blood pressure. Maybe you have a genetic component because a lot of my patients say that to me. Oh, well, my parents have high blood pressure. So then that means I'm going to have high blood pressure too. Listen to me. When it comes to any genetic, potential, hereditary situation when it comes to health, I don't care if it's cancer, osteoarthritis, heart disease, blood pressure, cholesterol, you are only a quarter, 25% likely that that's going to be your experience as well. The other 75% of your health are the decisions that you make, the lifestyle choices that you make, and the way that you live your life. So make no mistake, you can reverse any disease process because 75% of your existence can change that into your reality. Does that make sense? So I can't ever, it drives me crazy when people say to me, oh, I'm doomed to this fate of my mother, right, or my father. My father was an overweight smoker with a high-stress job. Well, maybe you're not. Maybe that's why he died, but that doesn't have to be the reason why you will too. Does that make sense? Okay. Same thing with a muscle spasm. We drug that too, right? Now, do you think that when you take that pill, that muscle goes right, or that drug goes right to the one that's in spasm? No. It goes to all of your muscles. And what is your heart? It's a big muscle, right? So now we're relaxing all the muscles of the body and the heart and the brain. Only you don't know the difference because you're fast asleep, right? You're half asleep. Kind of loopy. Again, when you start covering up your pains and your problems with anti-inflammatories, Vicodins or pain medications and these muscle relaxers, which is, by the way, the cocktail that they give you when you go to the emergency room, because I have dozens of patients who have had him, bring all their scripts to me. Should I take these? I mean, really, you're playing with fire. Does it ever cure anything? Does it ever fix anything? No. You're really putting your body into a much more weakened state when you start messing with those drugs. And by the way, what is the number one most addicted drug of our teenagers in America today? Does anyone know? Pain medicines. Pain medicines that they got from mom's cabinet or grandpa's cabinet, right? Nice. How about a malfunctioning gallbladder? Well, we cut these parts out. God made us with extra parts. No. What does your gallbladder do? Does anybody know?
Makes bile.
It stores and secretes bile, which is the stuff that helps you break down fats, fatty foods, right?
From the blood.
So even though you can live your life without a gallbladder, your body will absolutely not be able to function normally without one. So if you remove the organ in the body that helps you break down fats, but you don't change your diet, where does the fat go? Don't say your hips. Where does it go? Goes into the blood, specifically sort of lodging in your arteries, setting the stage for your first
Heart attack.
heart attack or stroke. Right, take your pick. Right? So can you see how this cascade of events can start to happen? And do you know how many people I know or who have come through this office who don't have a gallbladder and have never been told this information by their doctors? Never. Because he knows he's going to see it in a couple years with something else. So we need our organs. You need your body. You need to maintain and keep yourselves healthy and well now. So optimal health is how well you keep your body physically, chemically, and spiritually. So how does my body work? Well, Let's talk for a second just about how the universe works, because there are universal laws, right? And in our world, in our universe, there's gravity, that's a law, right? And there's all these the life forces that happen on Earth, and grass grows, and then the trees grow and get leaves, and then they fall off again, and then there's life cycles, right? There was the sperm and the egg met, right? And you became you, right? This is all part of what's called universal intelligence. This very special intelligence that keeps everything sort of working the way it's the rhythms of the world, the universe, the way that that's the life force that's in every living thing, from the smallest sea creature to the tallest oak tree, and it was there when the sperm and the egg met and you became you, right? So these two cells collided and became one, and then divided and divided and divided until right about the time you were a tiny little clump of about 32 cells. A small little red line developed down the back of those cells that was the beginning of your nervous system. So your nervous system was the very first system in your body to develop. It was there before your heart developed. It was there before your arms and legs developed. It was there before your lungs developed. Your nerve system was the conduit between this universal or innate intelligence to tell this little tiny developing embryo that you're only supposed to have 10 fingers and 10 toes. Only supposed to have 1 heart and 2 lungs, right? I'd like to think my mom was thinking about all this when I was in the womb, but I can tell you right now, there was a bigger plan out there going on, right? Controlling all of this. So the nerve system is actually like the traffic cop of the body that provides order and balance and control in your bodies. So it was responsible for taking that turkey sandwich that you had for lunch and maybe making a little bit of liver tissue out of that, right? It's responsible for making your heart beat faster when you walk up and down stairs. Do you have to tell your heart to do that? No. It's responsible for taking that top layer of skin because it's too cold and it's dry skin and we're just going to slough that right off. Are you telling your body to do that? No way. Your nervous system controls every single other system in the body. It controls your cardiovascular system, your heart. It controls your lungs. It controls your endocrine system, your hormones, your blood sugar, right? All of your reproductive organs, your liver, your kidneys, all controlled by this nervous system, right?
Brain.
I'm sorry?
The brain too.
The brain and the nervous system. That's what the nervous system is. It's the brain, the spinal cord, and miles of nerves that extend out from your spinal cord. And it's all protected by your spine, right? It's all protected so that it won't be injured by your skull and by your spine, right? So if there's no interference in the messages from the brain out to those body parts, in 9 months, you get a little baby miracle, right? Well, what if there is interference? And how does it get there? Well, let's briefly just talk about the birth process. So during the birth process, the baby is kind of coming down the birth canal. This is via a traditional birth, and there's usually someone waiting to help or hurry things along. What do? Grab a hold of the baby's head and do what? And turn, right? They turn the baby's chin so that they can get the shoulder and the rest of the body out. Okay, so if you all would, turn your head as far as you can in one direction. Good, good. 80, maybe 90 degrees of rotation before your body said, I can't do this anymore, I can't go any further, or this hurts, right? Okay, so now that doctor who thinks he's helping takes a hold and yanks on your neck, right, as that's going on. So this now, during a traditional birth, it's very common for doctors to sometimes turn that baby's chin up to 110 or even 120 degrees. Very common, right? And so now this tends to put a lot of stress and pressure on this little cervical or neck spine. Now, if this baby was born via C-section, there's a teeny tiny little incision. The muscle waves are going now the way that the baby's supposed to be born, and the way that we're trying to deliver this baby is opposite of that. So there's often some more wrangling side to side in order to get the baby out. I've seen some tough ones. Make no mistake, either way this baby is brought into the earth, there's a lot of stress on a child's neck, all right? And often the very first bone in the neck can get shifted out of place and get stuck this way. Pinch it.